And welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn. I am your host, Michael Grace. And today I am joined by Robert Indries. Robert has generated over $100 million for his clients in the last 5 years alone, while building his own empire, which consists of 10 businesses that are generating seven figures every year. And remarkably, he grew steadily every month, even during this pandemic that we're all experiencing. He's been able to provide jobs to hundreds of people from all over the world. Personally, he's traveled over 100,000 miles. He's visited over 17 countries. He's currently joining us from the UK over in Sheffield. And he has had the opportunity to speak in front of over 10,000 people in three different languages, if that wasn't challenging enough. And he was also interviewed for entrepreneur.com as an international tycoon. So, Robert, thank you for taking the time and joining the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about just yourself or your journey with the listeners?
Well, I think whenever I hear someone present me and I listen to that, I think it just sounds so far fetched, because the businesses are truly different. There are a lot of them, a lot of employees, a lot of clients, a lot of things to do, and travelings to be had, and seminars and so on. I think what people need to understand is this wasn't 1 year. This was like the last 15 years in the making, right? So it's like um, add one business this year, grow it, grow it, grow it, right? Try to add the second one next year, grow it, grow both simultaneously. Add the third one the year after that, grow that simultaneously, right? So it's been a lot of step by step motion, right? So I think if anyone's listening right now and they're in their career or their business is small or whatever, it's like I loved a quote I just I read, I think last year. It says, never compare your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel, right? Because what you did was like a 1 minute highlight reel, right? Okay, that's the highlight. But then that was 15 years of behind the scenes, 12-hour day shifts, and so on and so forth. So I think that's the only thing I would mention, right? Yeah, everything you said is true, and I'm immensely proud and grateful. I've managed to build everything I've had until now, and I have amazing people that I can count on to take the businesses forward. Otherwise, alone, I wouldn't be able to.
That's awesome. The power of a team. So you're the founder of a company called Wesrom, which is available for review out there on www.wesrom.com. Tell me a little bit about Wesrom and what it does and how it helps companies.
So, Westrom started as, to be very honest, as a sort of it started in a combination of anger and love, because I never wanted to have my own company. I just never thought about it. I'm a civil engineer by trade. I've designed so many architectures. I've built them. I've participated at so many contests, right? In C++, in I not every language, up until a certain degree, programming language. I mean, and we did a lot of building. I've built even autonomous flying drones, and so on and so forth. So I just love it. I'm a tech geek, even though some people couldn't tell. But basically, that's what I love. That's what I'm passionate about. And then um, I never thought of the entrepreneurial journey. I always thought of, I want to be outstandingly productive, do the best I can in every single position, and then take the company forward, get amazing results. And so I kept doing that over and over and over again for multiple companies. And I don't think I have time to go into details today, but I did that a few times, and every single time I would be let down immensely by the company I was working for, right? Realizing that they couldn't care less about me. I was just another number, I was just another employee, very easily expendable, very easily replaceable, right? I can tell you that all of my, like, I can have 10 stories at least of situation like that, but let me tell you the last one that really, was
Sure.
what broke the camel's back. I was doing amazing work at this company, just started, first 3 months. At the end of month 3, so I passed everyone's expectation twofold. So they were expecting X of me, I got X times 2, right? In terms of results, in terms of everything I was doing. And then at the end of that 3 months, because I considered, double meeting double your expectations for 3 consecutive months warrants a discussion of, how where do we go from here? Sort of something like that. I felt it, but this was way back when. So I know now, as an entrepreneur and as business owner and manager, that I did not have the correct approach in how I was asking for a raise, because it wasn't the right way to ask. But any good manager could have had a productive conversation from there, because they could have realized what the person is asking. So in my case, I asked a question back then. I Because I we had cubicles, so my manager was right behind me, and I just turned my little chair around, and I asked, I was like, I have a question. And they stopped what they were doing and said, sure, what's your question? And I asked, um, what would happen if I would ask for a raise? That's it. What would happen if I would ask for a raise? So the way I asked it in that manner, because I thought that we need to create a plan, right? Like, what else do I need to do? Like, what other responsibilities? Like, let's put together a plan, right?
Hmm.
Now I know that the better way of asking it, that's even more direct, is like, okay, um, what can be my career path from now on, right? What other responsibilities can I take? What else can I learn? How else can I add value to the company? And then how else can I be compensated as a result of that extra added value? So now I know how to ask. Now that I've managed so many people, I know this is the correct way to ask your boss or your whatever. That you want more responsibility, you want to go up, in terms of, your value in the company. And you don't need to change position, by the way. You might be immensely happy in a director level position where you have VPs on top of you and the chief execs on
Sure.
top of that, right? So you might be very happy 3 levels, 2 levels down, but you can still add more value, right? Be a leader, be like the go-to person, like hold trainings or whatever, right? And then you can be
Hmm.
compensated more and more and more. So, but going back to that, so I asked that one question, what would happen if I would ask for more money? Something like that, I asked. And she just looks at me, and without even drawing a breath, she says, oh, we just hire someone else. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. That was the answer. After 3 months of intense labor, like intense, like I was working my butt off, because it was the first 3 months. Everyone in the company knew me. They had like an entire building only theirs, and they had like multiple levels in the company, like how do you call them? Stories, like
Yeah,
story
multiple
one, two,
floors.
three, and every story was like HR or product development, sales and marketing. I knew everyone knew me, right? I was like so in it, like I was just building everything up. All of
Right.
leadership liked me, and so on and so forth. I turned to my manager, I asked that question, this is what they say. And then I didn't say anything. I was so shocked, I said, oh, okay. And I went back to work. But then I really did some soul searching. Like, I've been trying this for years, years, in so many different companies. I've given it my all every single time, and for some reason, people just screw up. They don't know how to treat others.
Right.
So I was angry because I couldn't figure it out, and I said, you know what? I'm going to start a company and show everyone how you need to treat people, how you should run an ethical business, right? And so that's why I started Westrom, because I wanted Westrom to truly love everyone they're working with, right? All of the employees as much or more than all of the clients, right? I don't believe in putting the client first. I don't believe in that. I believe in putting your employees first and your team first, so that then they can put the clients first. Your task in leadership, any leadership, even as low as manager, right? You're just managing 3 people. You are not responsible for the client. The people that are working with the client or for the client are responsible for that. You are responsible to make sure they are happy, make sure they are productive, make sure they have a career path, make sure they're learning, and so on and so forth, right?
Hmm.
So I believe leadership has, or management has, a very strong opinion, a very bad opinion on this, because they believe they themselves need to be client focused, and I don't believe that. I believe anyone that's a manager or leader has to be people focused, team focused, and then the team needs to be client focused, right? And I think that's the correct, let's say, balance between team and client. Because if you're a manager, you don't even deal with the client, you deal with the team, so your focus should be the team, and then the team needs to deliver the results, right? So
I love it.
that's how I started Westrom many years ago. It's like a decade ago almost, when I started that company, and then since then that Westrom has been going very well. I started other companies, but Westrom's still my baby. It's I really love it.
It's where you started.
Yes, it's where I started. Exactly, exactly.
I love it. Yeah, you're describing something that we talk about on the podcast quite a bit, which is culture and the responsibility of leadership to really lead people. There's a great book out in the healthcare leadership space, which a lot of our listeners happen to be in, and it's called "The Patient Comes Second."
Mm,
And so many people are like the patient, the patient, the patient. If you focus on your employees, right, the doctors, the nurses, the medical assistants, the people that are serving the patients, and they have a great employment experience and they love their job and they love their employer, they're going to give great care to that patient, right? Because you, as a leader, you don't see the patients. You're not the one providing the care to the patients. But if you have great people that work for you and you really care about them and they truly feel valued, then they're excited to come to work, right? They want to be at work. They enter the room and they're like, hi Robert, thanks for coming in today. And you're like, wow, this person's really excited to see me.
yes,
And you have a great interpersonal experience there. It's you just laid out such an important thing, like how to treat people. And it's just a great reason to start a company, right? You didn't start a company going, well, I want to make $1 million, or I want to sell 10,000 widgets or
mhm,
whatever. You wanted to start a company where your values were exemplified in how employees were treated, which is really awesome.
thank you.
So remote work, right, has been a thing. Obviously, it was started before the pandemic. People were looking for flexibility in jobs. Then the pandemic hit, and kind of everybody got to do remote work, whether they wanted to or not. Often in that case, um, how do people find and excel in remote work? Like, it seems like there needs to be a lot of discipline on the employee's part.
So I've been remote working for 10 years now, since before I started Westrom. I was already remote working, because I live in the digital space most of my life, right? So I do love going in parks, and doing all of that cool stuff. We're going to see some museums, next week, and so on and so forth. But I'm just I'm just saying that in terms of my career, right? Most of it is online, and everything I do is online, except where we do, when we used to do a lot of hardware stuff, and I was involved. Now my teams still do that because they still build Internet of Things, right? They still build a lot of stuff, as engineers, but I am not there anymore. I'm not involved. Only if a client says, "Oh, you need to come to New York, right? We need to see each other. We need to whatever." Then we go. We five of us go there, build, like stay there, live there for like 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever we need to do, and we get it done, right? However, and I love that, by the way. I love that remote work isn't a one or the other type of deal. It's remote work most of the time. That doesn't mean that you couldn't go to an office, right?
Hmm.
Or that you couldn't go see your clients, or that you can't travel to meet someone, or things of that nature, right? So all of the benefits of meeting people and working with a team, they're still there whenever you want to tap into them. So we actually did the poll in Wesrom earlier this year, because or was it last? No, I think it was earlier this year, because of COVID, people weren't really going, to the office at the beginning, because of restrictions, because whatever, all of that good stuff, right? However, um, we didn't know who's going to the office anymore, because we don't have cards or whatever, so people just go, or they, and so on. The office is open for them, private offices in different locations, so they could just go. And we did a poll, guys, should we, but the poll had multiple items, like how often do you go to the office, how many times a week or day or a month or whatever, do you want us to keep the offices, and so on and so forth. And it was so shocking, because almost everyone was still going to the office once in a while. They were having gatherings there. When they were working together, they would go there. When they would have a birthday, they would go there, or another type of event. And people wanted us to keep our offices, so here we were in
Hmm.
leadership, happy that we could, save tens of thousands of dollars a year, right, on office space. But no, people like, no, please keep the offices. Okay, fine, we'll keep the offices then. So
It's funny because we found the same thing, right? We have offices in Baltimore, Maryland, Buffalo, Tampa, Kansas City, and Phoenix. And at first we were like, "Ooh, everyone's working remote. What do we do about all these offices?" And when we thought about it, we thought people love coming to the offices. They want the flexibility to work from home, but they also want to have a space that's not like a coffee shop, where they can come together and collaborate and meet and socialize and build those relationships, so that when they are all virtual and they're back, on Zoom or whatever, they're like, there's been a human connection that'll carry them through that digital work world.
well, and that's a very big part of it, because I think many people were scared or didn't know how to see it or whatever. The way I see it is that an extra layer of flexibility and freedom added to all of our lives. Because again, it doesn't mean you cannot go to still be with people, right? We're actually thinking of opening an office in Turkey, because for one reason or another, in the last 12 months, we hired like five Turkish people. Totally coincidental, but it happened. So now we're thinking, well, maybe we'll have an office there, because we already have five people, and we ask them, what are they missing. We have like feedback every year. We ask for feedback. We ask everyone for feedback, and we ask them one on one. What would you like? What's one thing you like most about working at Westron? What's one thing you dislike most? And so on and so forth. And within these feedback surveys that we've done, we've realized that people would like that interconnection, right? To meet. So the Turkish people told us, and interestingly enough, I kid you not, some of them, three of them, are in the same city, and they themselves rented an office for themselves, right? And they share the bill amongst them three, but they go to work together from the same office, which is so cool. Like, I just love it. And these things just happen. These people are 100% remote workers, and yet they decide to rent an office and to go to stay together. So that's extra flexibility, and we can start paying their rent bill. That's not the point, right? The point is that you have that flexibility. You can choose one or the other, right? So I think the only thing the pandemic did is accelerate the movement. It's not like it was not going to happen. It's just like Tesla said, like at one point 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Tesla released all of their blueprints for all of their batteries and their cars and so on. And investors were shocked, and people were shocked, like, why would you do that? That's your secret sauce. And Elon Musk said very intelligently, like, we never wanted to dominate the electric vehicle space. Our mission states very clearly that we want to accelerate the adoption of sustainable energy powered transportation. That's the mission.
Right.
So if that is the mission, he said, what we've done in the first few years was perfect the technology. Once it was perfected to a point that we believe it's good enough to be replicable, we shared, and we believe that is part of our mission, right? So the only thing the pandemic has done is accelerate the adoption of remote work, and that's it, basically.
I
It
love
was
it.
going to come regardless.
I love it. Right. We did the same thing with our Baltimore, or I'm sorry, our Buffalo office. We just happened to hire a bunch of people, and then we realized, oh, four of you happen to live in Buffalo, and they were like, yeah, and we're getting together and stuff, and we're like, oh, well, let's get an office up there that you guys can go to, and we got a really cool co-working space for them that they're really enjoying. Um, you're a lot of what you guys do is development, engineering, software engineering. How important are proprietary apps? If you're a company, you can often, I call it buy off the shelf, right? You can get off the shelf apps. Um, and there's always this, do I custom build and then have to support it and get a proprietary app that's just about me and my business, or should I buy kind of this off the shelf? Is proprietary apps, are they can they be a differentiator to a company?
So, um, I have a slightly long-winded answer, but I
Sure.
think I think you and the listeners will find this valuable. So, um, you don't decide on off-the-shelf versus custom or things of that nature for the sake of that of what it is. You need to dig within your own organization and see what it is you need, what are your challenges, how could you become better, and so on and so forth. This is why you guys exist. Because, right, someone comes to RPI and says, I'm a clinic, I'm a whatever, I'm a business, right? I have, this is what I have, and I need help in making this operation more effective in these two, three, four ways. And then you guys, as the consultants, come in and say, well, let's take a look, let's do an assessment, let's see, what would be the most feasible, what is most cost effective, what needs custom development because there isn't anything exactly like that, or what can be off the shelf, or would it cost the same to build everything off the shelf, everything custom. At the same time, there are benefits to off the shelf because it's instant, almost is the same week you can get it inside your business. Whereas if you make everything custom from the beginning, guess what, you have like a 3 4 5 month waiting time until that will be applied, right? Which many times isn't necessarily a problem, because most of the companies we work with as well have like long timelines, right? They have a timeline for next year or the year after that, and so on and so forth. So it's not a rush, and we can still do it. But at the same time, um, again, it doesn't have to do with how you can find the software or the solutions. It has to do with what do you need. That's the number one thing. And so if you can determine what you need through consultants like yourselves, or you yourself figure out, these are my needs, this is where I want to take the business, this is why this will help, this is how it affects the bottom line, by the way, this is how it affects the customer experience, and so on and so forth. So you're looking at these overarching business KPIs and goals, and you're seeing how innovation can solve those or can help you progress towards them. And then some of it might be off the shelf, some of it might be custom, or all of it might be off the shelf, or all of it might be custom. We find in our experience with working with businesses that it's either a mix between off the shelf and custom, or fully custom, right? You almost never get an off the shelf tool and
Right.
it's done. You have everything there. It's done. It's ready. It's, wow, it just works. No, no,
It
it
was
doesn't. And
designed for you somehow magically. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Because people believe that the tool will solve their business challenge, but many times it's not that. There are many other things to do. Wesrom Consulting, which is a division of Wesrom, was born from, or basically as a result of people not being able to take technology and actually make it work, like in a way that it takes their business from 20 million to 100 million. No exaggeration, right? Because um, there is change management involved. There is digital transformation as a concept with training, with seeing, like getting data, like feedback, right? Seeing how things are improved, making tweaks along the way, and so on and so forth. So basically, when you look at the software, I've coached, me myself personally. I've coached over 300 businesses until now on their HR, on their sales and marketing, on their innovation, or whatever, like literally on taking their business to the next level. And I can tell you, I've been asked so many times, what project management software do you use, or what CRM do you use, or whatever do you use, right? I'm like, what does it matter what I use? Like, and they're like, I use Monday, or I use Basecamp, or I use
Right.
whatever's out there, or I use Pipedrive, I use HubSpot, I use whatever, right? And for example, one of my clients recently, they asked, they said, "Oh, I think I want to implement HubSpot." And like, okay, do you have, approximately $50,000 worth of budget at least just for the people to manage HubSpot, right? It's like, well, no. Why do I need that? Like, because you do. If you're going to use HubSpot,
Yeah.
you need tens of thousands of dollars worth of dedicated resources, every single, maybe hundreds, it depends on how big your company is, right? But you need a lot of people, because we were at one point, we were HubSpot partners. Maybe we still are. So maybe this is illegal what I'm doing right now. I don't even know. But we figured out that HubSpot is an amazing tool if you dedicate a ton of money to it, like a ton of, like so much that it's only worth it if you're like in love with them, like only if you really really love what they stand for, and you love how they work and their designs, because I can perfectly understand that. Sometimes I look at software and I'm like, I don't care that there's something other out there that's better. I love how this looks. I just love the feel. I love the
Sure.
vibe. I just want to use this piece of software. And sometimes there's not, like, the negative effects of using something versus something else are so minimal that it doesn't really matter. But everyone needs to enjoy it, everyone needs to love it, you write and use it, and gain from it. And so HubSpot is just one of those in which, if you don't want to put in, let's say between 50 and 100 grand in it per year, do not invest in it. Just, if you are willing to do that, go for it. That's fine. It's an amazing piece of software. Otherwise, use Pipedrive, use, whatever else you don't want to use as a CRM, or as other tools.
I love it. Yeah, so many of I love so much of what you just kind of went through, because so many people, get hung up on the technology, and they're like, oh, I want to, oh, I bought licenses to this. Now I need it to solve my problem. And I'm like, well, you bought the wrong
That's the
tool.
wrong approach. Yes.
Yeah, you bought the wrong tool. I have a company that I'll keep nameless to protect the innocent, but they bought, $200,000 worth of intelligent automation tools from a company. And then they brought us in and they said, hey, we need this problem solved and we have this tool. And I'm like, well, you need to screw a screw in the wall, and you bought a hammer.
Yeah.
And so I can get the screw in the wall with a hammer. It's just not going to be the right tool. It's going to cost you a lot more. It's going to make a big mess. What you really need is a screwdriver. And it's because you went to the tool first. You bought the tool and then you're like, where do I use this tool? You're running around the house going, I've got a new tool. I've got to use it, versus what's my business problem? What am I trying to solve unique to my business? Okay, what tools do I need? Like when you open a new package that needs to be built or something, and it said, these are the tools you'll need for this project. It doesn't mean that if you do something in your backyard, that those same tools are going to be used in your backyard, right? It's so funny how people get stuck on a technology without really looking at their personal problem. And doing that assessment that you talked about is so critical. Like what is it going to bring? What's the investment? What's the ROI? So many companies just don't do that.
I think I have insight into that. So you what something you said earlier is so good. You said to protect the innocent. And these people really believe they're doing the right thing. And so what is going on is the company you talked to about this, they didn't know who you were before, right? What they did is they knew that they have a problem internally, and they were either reached out to by the sales unit of that tool, or they did a Google search or whatever, and somehow they found that tool. And then guess what? The salespeople, if they're any good, they will convince you that that tool is what you need to buy. It's easy for them. They're like, oh, yeah, of course, this tool can do that. Because what do they ask? The innocent. What does the innocent? Will this tool be able to solve this challenge? And what will the salesperson say? Of course. Of
Yeah,
course it can solve it. Of course, but it's a hammer, not a screwdriver. The hammer can get the nail in, no problem. It's gonna get it in. A lot of blunt force, like old school, but you can get the nail in, no problem. Or sorry, the screw. So
yeah,
basically, that's it. They are just, they have the KPI, like the business challenge. They're doing their research, but the issue is they're not going to a consultant, right? They're not going to you. If they don't know that that's the normal way of doing it. Because if I don't have expertise in implementing a software or tool like this, I need to go to RPI, or I need to go to Wesrom, and I need to go to someone that actually knows and understands technology, and they can do an assessment. They can have their business analysts work together with us. We can do a full audit, and then we can get to the right solutions, right? So that is the correct way of doing this. But most people don't understand that. And they're confused, right? Because salespeople confuse them. This is like, I kid you not, HubSpot. The reason why they're still on the market is because of their sales. That's it. The only reason they're still in the market because their sales team can convince you that this tool can help you with your marketing. That's it.
yeah.
They're not going to tell you that it's going to cost you 10 times more than other pieces of software, right? And you're going to have to invest so much into learning how it works, into making everything work. And they also don't tell you that if you invest into this, you're shackled. You're Because nothing else will work, right? And it just, that's not, they just want to sell you on the tool. And then you come along and say, well, why did you buy HubSpot? This doesn't make sense,
It's so funny because people just and it's okay. I think people feel, and if they're in a position of leadership, they're expected to know everything, right?
Yeah.
They're expected to, those of us like Wesrom and RPI that are in the software space, part of our jobs is to know what providers are in the space, right? To be familiar with Salesforce and HubSpot and all the other tools, and in the intelligent automation space that we're in, we know about Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere and UiPath. And it's amazing to me to watch these leaders, and they go to the actual companies, and then they ask the company, like you said, will Automation Anywhere solve my problem? Like, what are you expecting that person to say? No,
Yes.
we're not the right tool for you. You should go take your tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you should go give it to our competitor that actually has a better product.
Yeah.
Said no salesperson ever, right? No
Yeah.
one's ever going to tell you the truth when you're talking to the vendor. So to me, you find a consultant that you trust, that has experience, that understands the market, and you let them provide the value, which is understanding your problem first, right? Listening, and what are we trying to do here? And then they can bring all these tools. I call them arrows in the quiver, right? And you might need automation anywhere, but you might need automation anywhere and UiPath and HubSpot, or, but let them solve your technology product problem, not the
Yeah.
software vendors that all they care about is selling you software licenses. This
Licenses, yeah, exactly.
this example that I gave, I mean, this company bought $170,000 worth of licenses, and then the vendor essentially ghosted them, just like disappeared, right? Because
And their
they've already
contracts were
sold the
bulletproof.
licenses. Yeah, they're done. That's great. See
Yeah,
ya.
yeah, yeah.
They didn't
Um,
care about the company.
and I think two things I want to mention. Number one, very important because I've been hitting on HubSpot because I use them as the initial example. I believe they have great software, right? Like if you're committed, if you want to use them, and they wouldn't be around for so long and they wouldn't be so big if their software wouldn't function and wouldn't work. So hands down, they've created something amazing, but it has a very specific niche of people to use that, right? So I think I love it. It just the designs are amazing. They've done great work, so I really appreciate it, and that's why we became partners with them, right? Because we really like the software, and we were having people coming to us saying that we want to use HubSpot. I'm like, aren't you going to ask me what you should use? Like, no, we want to use HubSpot. Like, okay, fine, let's use HubSpot then, right? Give me the hammer, I'll put in the screw. That's fine. So basically, we've done that. At the same time, the second thing is these salespeople are also not lying, and we need to be mindful of that. Because what are you asking them? You're asking, will automation solve my problem? And guess what? They have 5 case studies, not joking, like 5 real case studies of their clients. I mean, UiPath has probably 200 case studies or 1,000 case studies of how their software is helping other companies. But the way it's helping companies is individual per the company. And guess what? UiPath didn't really help them implement. They just, provided the software and someone else implemented, right? So, can it help? Yes, it can. I'm being honest. And is it proven to help? Yes, it's proven. Look at my case studies. So, the salesperson isn't lying. You're asking the wrong question. The real question is, how effective is this in meeting my challenges, in overcoming my challenges, right? How much effort will I need to put in to have this, to make this work, right? These are better challenges. Start thinking about the process, not there are no silver bullets when it comes to technology, right? So it needs to be implemented, and guess what, it also doesn't last a lot. So maybe it lasts 1 year, 2 years, but then the software becomes legacy, the business change, the products change. I don't know, but you need to keep adapting, right? To stay relevant in the market.
Yeah, those are some great points. You mentioned a couple things, right? Like focus on the process. Whenever I go into a company, I always, they bring in, this is how we're doing it today, and I'm always like, I kind of don't care. I kind of want to know, what are you trying to solve, right? Like what do we want this process to ultimately do? If I could tell you that technology could be magical and it could do anything that you want it to do, what do we want it to do? And they're like, oh, I never thought
Yeah.
about that. I just thought
Exactly.
we were
Wave
gonna,
a magic wand.
yeah,
You know,
you
what do you
know,
want? Wave a magic wand. If you would have the perfect situation, what would it look like?
I
And
love
maybe
it.
it's completely different than what you have
Yeah.
right now.
And then let us, put the confines of technology on it and go, okay, we can do all this. This we can't really do, right? This isn't real yet. Or here's how we need to change it. And I guarantee you'll get such a better outcome. But you gotta find the right consultants. You gotta trust them. You gotta totally empower them. But if you don't trust them, right, you got to find the consultant that's right for you. There's a bazillion consultants out there. Find one that you believe in, that'll be your trusted advisor. And then I always say, hire the best professionals that you can, and then get out of their way. Right? Let them do what you ask them to do, and you'll be pretty amazed with the results. You are in the middle of something kind of big right now. You guys are launching a logistics company, which we were talking Robert and I were talking right before the podcast started, which is just really cool. So, as much as you want to share about this, I know it's not out there 100% yet, and you guys are getting ready for launch. But it's always exciting, right? This insanity that happens right before you launch a new product. What can you tell us about the new logistics company launch?
So I'm actually excited about various launches we're doing. For our clients, we have four big launches in the next 4 months, right?
Wow.
So this is going to be huge. One of them launching next week. So I can't divulge because it's our clients' information and so on. You'll hear about it very very soon. It's going to be all over New York, and then they're going to go in multiple cities in the U.S., which is huge. Um, multi million dollar investment in tech, and in marketing after that, and so on and so forth. So um, the I can't say too many things right now, but let's just say that it's going to be sort of like Amazon Prime for local shops, like for any local shop you can imagine, closed stores and so on and so forth. Because right now, Amazon Prime, guess what? They have a monopoly, right? If you want to play their game, you'll play by their margins, play by their rules, and so on and so forth. And you don't really have any other option to sell your products, online, especially if you're part of a brand or of a chain, because guess what, you can't. However, with this new platform that we're building, we started working on it months ago, like at the beginning of the year, I think, and we had like 15 developers on it. I don't know, for over half a year. It's crazy. I mean, we've put so much effort into it. We've had the demo of it has several online platforms and four apps. Imagine, because there's so many different people in it. So as at Westrom's level, I tell people sometimes, because we sometimes are compared to other agencies, or things of that nature, and I tell them, look, if you compare us to another agency, you need to understand that 95% of agencies are 5 people or less, or or 15 people or less, or whatever. That's normal. That's what you're gonna get, like literally every single time. With Westrom, we have over 85 senior specialists, over 85 senior specialists. We're going to pass 100 staff this year, right? So we've literally passed that level so much that now anyone coming to us, that's late, let's say already an established business, they say we want to launch this new initiative. Guess what? We can have 15 people on it next month, right? And if we don't have that staff, maybe we have 7 of them, not 15. We have an entire recruitment agency within our agency, right? And so we can find the best talent, we can vet it, we can train, we can staff aug, we can do all of that, right? And so this is very exciting because these people would not be able to do this. Like literally, they would not, because that's not their core business. And so in this specific case, we have people that were senior tech leads at companies like Skip the Dishes or Just Eat, right? Which are one of the, it's like Uber Eats, but they're Just Eat is like the biggest one on the planet right now. They own like multiple other brands in other countries. They're like the Coca-Cola of food delivery,
Yep.
you know. And our our staff has literally created all of the infrastructure, has done all of the migrations for these big entities, all of the cybersecurity and so on and so forth. So this is the level of staff that we have. And so imagine if you try to do it yourself, this is the same as what we were talking about earlier, like you choosing your solution. Like you have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
and that's okay, because you don't need to know,
Yeah.
right? Work with people that have already done it before. So in this specific case, these guys came to us. We had the demo 2 weeks ago, because we're very close. I mean, was such a tight deadline, like crazy tight. However, we said we're gonna try to make it work, and so we had the demo with many people testing it out, and they loved it. They said, "Wow, this is so great! We love it. We're playing around with it." And so, in that specific case, Um, they gave us their feedback, and so on and so forth. And now we're days away from having it in the stores, right? App Store, Android Store, and so on and so forth, online on the .com and everywhere. So we're literally days away. So I love that, and hopefully it's going to be the launch will be successful and so on and so forth. But I, all of these projects are exciting to us. We have people coming in out of recommendations, right? And this is where we have partners like you guys, because we have someone that, for example, does Atlassian integration, like they sell Atlassian licenses and things of that nature, right? And they come to us because they do not have the quantity of senior staff we do to create custom implementations. They might have a few, right? But when they have like a 6 month deadline and they need to put in 5,000 hours worth of dev work, it's not going to happen, right? So um, we're excited. Obviously you can tell I'm passionate about this stuff.
That's awesome. And I appreciate you sharing, what you could about that. I mean, it's just it's so exciting. And whenever you get ready to launch anything that you've worked on for so long, whether it's an app or a project or such, just that level of intensity just all seems to come up, 1,000,000%. Robert, thank you for sharing about your journey, about Wesrom, about the exciting work that you guys are doing. I'm going to stock, the app store looking for like a new delivery app, and it's going to be cool, I'm sure. It's just really exciting to meet someone and for you to share your story and give some great, just leadership points, how to run a company, how to focus on your employees. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, my pleasure.